met hard and met fast by number 31 of that defense, Daryl Green, a name that I have said again and again tonight. Daryl Green making a huge tackle.
Welcome to 24 Hour Sports Show, and now here with Daryl Green. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And today we just going into the Cowboys, how good the Cowboys actually are. But aside from that, I really just want to look into a couple things, knowing that they're in their bye week. Cowboys fans, they're optimistic. They want to see what's going on with their team. So in this episode, we really just going to do that. We're going to look at everything. And while we watching this film, I really want you to think about the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to do some comparisons and some things to look out for because that's the team you want to beat. If you want to win the Super Bowl, that's the goal for the Cowboys, to be a Super Bowl champion. You have to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. And to do that, there are some things that got to get fixed. There are some things that need to be repeated, and there are some things that got to change. So that's what we're going to look at too. But without more talking, let's roll the tape. Okay, so going into this first play, we're going to see two things: scheme and how we look against coverage. Right here, we got a man coverage. And CeeDee Lamb, I like seeing CeeDee Lamb lined up in the backfield. I like that. I think that's something that should keep going on as we progress into playing these games that matter. But let's get into it. All right, so like I said, it's a man look. Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb in the backfield. We got 13 personnel. It's 3-by-1. But those are all three tight ends lined up on the outside. Why? Because it's a man look, and you have CeeDee Lamb in the backfield, so he's going to be matched up against a linebacker. That's a critical mismatch. So even though Dak Prescott right here, he's going to throw this slant route, he has the option to also throw the bubble in the flat to CeeDee, 3 tight ends blocking. This is just a great scheme. This is something that's going to be effective if they keep doing it. But like I said, I'm going to be comparing these schemes against what the Eagles like to do because that's the team who you ultimately want to beat. Yeah, you got other teams on the schedule, but like I said, this is about the Super Bowl. We're not looking at those games. We're looking at the big picture here. And if you're playing the Eagles, they like those multiple formations. So instead of seeing a linebacker in that position, you might see a safety. You might see a nickel get matched up against that and get CeeDee at running back. And that can give you problems because if they're running those nickel or dime packages, now you got DBs matched up with receivers. There's no mismatches, there's no linebackers, and they can also play too high. So that's my only concern, the versatility of that Eagles defense, because once they play too high and they got DBs matched up with receivers, there's no mismatches. Who can actually win a good one-on-one battle? And that's where my concern comes in. Is Gallup going to beat Bradbury, and is CeeDee going to beat Slay? That's my only question. That's what I want to be able to see. And just as important as that passing game will also be the running game. Tony Pollard still has to get his touches. I need at least 15 Tony Pollard touches because, yes, Zeke can tire down a defense, but this is what Tony Pollard can do. Watch the cut. He cuts twice. Watch the cuts. And then he just has a one-on-one matchup, him against a safety, jukes him out. Now he's to the end zone. Zeke cannot do that at this point in his career. That's what Tony Pollard brings, and he's just explosive. He needs the ball. One thing I did see from the Dallas offensive coordinator, I seen adjustments. Right here, this is an early pick that Dak threw against a cover 3 look, and the safety just jumps it. He just jumps it. This is a bad pick by Dak. But also, I would have liked to see CeeDee help his teammate, help his quarterback, instead of avoiding the contact, make some contact just to force an incompletion. Either it's your ball or nobody's ball. That's really what I wanted to see, but I didn't see that. I seen you avoid the contact, and now he's picking that, getting the Bears in good field position. But that's a bad pick by Dak. But here's why I'm showing the pick, because I want to show you the adjustment to it. Okay, so right here, again, this is a cover 3 look, but they're going to give 2 deep routes to threaten the safety. Now the safety has to pick, and now that puts him in a bind where he can't jump anything because they have 2 routes going up the seam. Like I said, we see 2 guys threatening, so he has to pick either CeeDee or pick the tight end. He can't really pick one. Now you got the tight end wide open over the middle. That's a good scheme. That's a good adjustment to that, to hold that safety in the middle, get something behind the linebackers because that's the matchup you want. And right here, this is another player who I believe can make an impact late in the season when we playing the games that matter. Kevontae Turpin. He's just explosive. His start and stop ability is different. That's something that can make him special in the NFL. And I believe he can get touches on plays similar to this one. Right here, we see a motion, and then he just gets the toss. But what I want you to look at is the stop and the start. Right here, he stops, and then he starts. That's the burst that we're seeing. That's why he needs to get the ball, because he can make a difference in these games. And right here, this is just an example of why Tony Pollard needs to get his touches, because every time he gets an open hole, he has the ability to score. He has that speed. He has that vision. Right here, he just scores. You get the guard pulling out in front of him, and once he makes a couple guys miss, he's just going. He's just going. That's going to be key, because if you can get guys to play zone, I believe Dak will be at his best. If they're stopping the run and they're just manning up because they know you can't run the ball against their defensive line, now that's when you're in a bind. That's when you find yourselves in a position, because your receivers, I don't believe they can consistently win those one-on-one matchups. Okay, going to the defensive side of the ball. Every fan is going to hate to hear this. I'm sorry, Dallas, but I love seeing Micah Parsons off the ball. And I'm talking about when he's not pass rushing, when he's playing middle linebacker. I really like that against this Bears teams, because you have Clark, you have Barr. I believe Clark is somebody you want to lean on more, because I just didn't like what I seen out of Barr. I believe Clark is more athletic. Barr, he just didn't seem to have the range to get outside, to run, and really just make tackles. I seen some things out of Clark that I like, some things that were promising. And you know Leighton Vander Esch, you know he has range, you know he can hit and he can run. But with Leighton Vander Esch, the problem is that he has to trust his eyes. With Micah Parsons, he has the speed and the athleticism to make up for any wrong read. And right here, we're going to see just that. Right here, he takes away two gaps. He's one guy and he takes away two gaps. Right here, he takes away that gap. So now the running back cuts it outside, and look at the burst. Look at the burst from right here to here, and he's there. That's a tackle for loss. Michael Parsons is special at the off-ball linebacker position. And I believe that he's going to be needed to be leaned on. If he's playing that position, Sam Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence, you're going to have to lean on guys. Dante Fowler, you're going to have to lean on that as a pass rush when you're playing a team like the Eagles, when you're potentially playing the 49ers, because you need linebackers in the middle who can run. And your defensive line, your interior is not that strong. They're not that good, so they're going to get pushed off the ball. Therefore, an unathletic linebacker in this defense is not ideal, because you're going to need guys who have the athleticism to make up for what your defensive line can't do. The gaps just aren't always going to be there because they're getting pushed out of position. They're getting pushed out of their gaps. So now linebackers have to depend on their athleticism in order to make tackles. That's what Micah Parsons can do. Every linebacker does not have the explosiveness and speed of Micah Parsons. Honestly, he's the best off-ball middle. He's the best off and on-the-ball linebacker that you have. He can rush the passer better than anybody on the team, better than most people in the league. And he can play middle linebacker better than anybody you have on your team. That's just the truth of it. But he can't be two places at one time. However, right here we see him at middle linebacker. And look at the defensive tackle. He's getting pushed. He's in the way. But Micah Parsons, he gets rid of the trash and he just runs through. He runs through and he still makes a special tackle. And with Leighton Vander Esch, like I said, sometimes he just doesn't trust his eyes. Sometimes he makes bad reads. But every linebacker is going to make a bad read once or twice. It just happens to the best of us. But right here, he makes a bad read. But I still like Leighton Vander Esch because it's not every play. It's not every play. And beyond that, he still plays with effort. I believe he still plays with effort even if he's making a bad read. Right here, he just gets out of the alley. He gets out of the gap, but he's still running. He's still running downfield, and that's special. That's what you're going to need. That's the type of attitude you need on your team. Going into the secondary, right here we got Trayvon Diggs, and they're still hitting him with double moves. He's been playing it better, but he's still liable to get hit with those double moves. When you're playing guys like Devontae Smith, it's just a lot of good receivers in the NFC. Debo, Ayuk, all of those guys. Justin Jefferson, everybody. All of those guys in the NFC, when you're playing them, you're going to be susceptible to a double move. And right here, you get hit with the double move. And the wrong receiver, this can potentially be 6. The wrong receiver, this could be 6. So you got to be a little more disciplined. And you're playing better this season, but still, we can't give things like this up. And this is the last play I'm going to show. But like I said, we have to depend on DeMarcus Lawrence, Sam Williams, Dante Fowler, guys of that nature to hit home if Micah Parsons is going to be playing off the ball. So right here, we see DeMarcus Lawrence. He gives up his quadrant. He gives up the outside. He just loses contain. That's something they really have to be going over in the bye week, because if you lose contain against the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going to have a horrible day. But to go into how I think the Cowboys can beat the Eagles, it's not simple. But I think there's ways. You have to get the lead, you have to win time of possession, and you have to turn over Jalen Hurts. Like I said, Jalen Hurts, he makes some throws that can be intercepted. So you have to capitalize on those plays. Trayvon Diggs, they're going to try to hit you with a double move. You have to be alert for that, especially if it's a close game or it's early in the game. They're going to try to hit you with that. I'm going to be interested to see how they use Micah Parsons, because I believe if they're winning, then you have to need him on the pass rush. But if it's a close game, let some of those other guys get opportunities. Let Micah play off the ball, because you're going to need his athleticism to make range tackles, to be sideline to sideline. You're going to need that, especially against an Eagles team that can run the ball inside and out. So that's what I think is important. Offensively, you just have to win those one-on-one matchups, because the Eagles, they're going to come at you with multiple formations. They're going to man up. They're going to zone. I believe Dak reads the zone well, but those one-on-one matchups are really what concern me. So CeeDee Lamb is going to have to step up if you have any chance of winning that game. Michael Gallup, the same. But even if that's not there, still try to get some big plays with Pollard and Turpin. It's a lot to be there. It's really going to come down to coaching and how you scheme against the game plan. You have to make the Eagles get out of their comfort zone, because every team they're playing, they're in their comfort zone. So you have to get them out of that, and I believe there's ways you can win that. It's not easy. It's easier said than done, but going from a Cowboys perspective, it's not off the table. It's not impossible to beat them. It's going to be a good game. I believe the Eagles are the better team, but looking from a Cowboys perspective, you can't have that mindset. You have to be looking at every potential weakness in that team. Like I said, that run defense for the Eagles isn't great right now. Davis is out. When you see them in the future, he may be back by that time. However, run the ball, try to find the matchups, and play defense. Let Micah be the MVP. On the ball, off the ball, let him do it all.